podcasting is a very hard business. It's very hard, very hard. Why? Many people think podcast market is growing, and you can just jump in, make a podcast, because the barrier to make a good podcast, I mean the high production value podcast is not too hard. You just need to have a good microphone and a decent studio. You don't even need to have studio. You just buy a very good microphone, then you can produce a relatively high quality podcast in terms of audio quality. But what a lot of people don't know is podcasting market is a really winner takes all market. It's even more extreme than YouTube. If you notice a lot of podcast platforms like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, when you go to the homepage of those platforms, you will find out it's basically very hard to discover new podcasts, very hard to search new podcasts. And what most people listen to are those recommended by the platform. Usually it's the very top podcasts. And the subscription feature of those platforms also not really good. And recommendation of those podcasts also very different. Because where you get most of the recommendation from is homepage. You don't get any recommendation after you finish one episode of a certain podcast. You don't have any recommendations like YouTube. You will recommend you related videos or some videos that you might like according to the video you're watching. You won't get that kind of feature in most of podcast platforms. And that makes it really hard for smaller podcasts to be discovered, because that's the only way. You just think about YouTube. When you do watch YouTube videos, you discover basically a lot of YouTube videos after you by the recommendation of the sidebar of the videos. So basically after you finish one video, you see a lot of similar videos, and that's where you can find a lot of smaller YouTubers. But you don't have their features in podcast platforms, most of podcast platforms. And the only chance that you can discover new podcasts is through the homepage recommendation. And most of those recommendations, almost all those recommendations, are super popular podcasts already. So it only reinforce those winners. Then so far the situation now is only the very, very top 0.1% of podcasts they can get traction. The rest of there really are a lot of small podcasts. You just don't know yet. You just don't know, and they will never be able to be discovered because of these attributes of those podcast platforms. The discoverability of podcasts basically is very bad. So that makes winners tax even more. So that's my views. This is my view on podcasting market. And if you would like to receive more technology platform analysis like this, don't forget to subscribe. Your subscription is my greatest encouragement to make more videos like these. And other than that, take care. I will see you next time.